everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Alexa, and this is Dash, and this is Zuzu. Today, I'm making peanut butter oat dog cookies. I've measured out my ingredients, and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared. To start, I'm going to put my whole wheat flour, oats, and cinnamon into a bowl of my stand mixer and mix on the lowest setting. I'm mixing these ingredients to make sure that once I add my wet ingredients, they are evenly distributed throughout my batter. I'm going to quickly scrape down my bowl with a rubber spatula because I can see the cinnamon isn't mixing the way I want it to. Next, I'm going to add in my sweet potato, peanut butter, and eggs. You can use pumpkin instead of sweet potato if you would like. I've made this recipe both ways and it comes out exactly the same. Before I put my peanut butter into my measuring cup, I coated it with coconut oil so it wouldn't get stuck to the measuring cup. Some of it is still stuck, but it is less than if I didn't coat it at all. I'm going to scramble my eggs quickly with a fork so they will mix better with the rest of my batter. Start your mixer back up. I recommend starting your mixer off on the lowest setting so the dry ingredients will be able to mix a little with the wet ingredients before you move to a medium speed. This is so the dry ingredients don't splatter. that my batter is starting to come together, I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl, the bottom of my bowl, and the mixer blade with my rubber spatula to make sure there aren't any ingredients that aren't getting combined. If there's some dry ingredients climbing the sides of the bowl, scrape them down towards the rest of the mixture. Make sure that as little ingredients are stuck to the spatula as possible, because when you are trying to combine them later, they could create clumps. To do this, you might need to grab another rubber spatula. In this case, scraping the spatula against the mixer blade is working well for me. Next, I can restart the mixer. It may look a little dry, but don't worry, it's supposed to look that way. My batter looks just about done, but I'm going to scrape it down again to see if anything wasn't mixed in. Sometimes it helps when cleaning the mixer blade to take it off the mixer. As you can see, this allows you to see what you are scraping better. I noticed at this step that there were some not mixed in dry ingredients and a few wet ingredients that weren't combined either. I'm going to mix these ingredients together a little bit longer. I'm going to do one last scrape down to make sure everything is perfect. It looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Now we're going to roll out the cookies. I'm using a rolling pin with rolling pin measurers. These will make sure that every part of the batter is the same thickness without measuring. I'm using ones that are 1/4 of an inch thick. If you don't have those, you can use a roller and make sure that the rolled out batter is measured to a 1/4 inch thick. To start, I'm going to take part of my dough out of the mixing bowl and put it on my cutting board. Normally, when you roll out cookies, you'll need to put down some flour, but these cookies aren't sticky, so you don't need to do that. I'd recommend squeezing the dough together and flattening it a little to make it easier to roll out. The dough is a little crumbly, so don't worry if it falls apart a little when you are squeezing it together. Just press the parts that fell off back into the dough and everything will be fine. If you are using rolling pin measurers, you just need to roll out until you don't have to press down on the rolling pin anymore because it's the right thickness. If you are using a ruler, you will roll out and then put the bottom of the ruler next to the rolled out dough to make sure that the height of the dough is 1/4 of an inch. The dough is kind of hard to roll out, so you'll need to use your strength to make sure it's the right thickness. I'm using heart cookie cutters in honor of Valentine's Day, but you can use any shape and size that you want. Just keep in mind that smaller cookies will take less time to cook and larger cookies will take more time to cook. Now I'm going to roll out some more. To do that, I'm going to squeeze the dough that I just cut back together and add some more from my mixing bowl. Then you repeat the same process that you did once before. The recipe makes a lot of cookies, so you might not want to roll them all out at once. You can just leave the batter in the fridge for a few days until you want to make more. Make sure to move the cookies that you made out of the way when you start rolling out your batter again. Otherwise, you might ruin the shapes that you just made and have to start over. Don't worry if that does happen though, because you can always just roll them out again and everything will be okay. I'm only rolling out small bits every time because I find that easiest, but you can roll out as much dough as you want or can handle at once. Right now, I'm going to roll out enough so I can make one batch of cookies. If you'd like to, you can skip to the next part of this video, but if you'd like to continue rolling out your cookies with me, I'll be here rolling out mine too. Once you don't have enough batter to make shapes, you can just bake the rest of the batter in a blob or cut it into pieces with a knife so you don't have to waste any. Your dogs will still love it. Now, we are going to put our cookies onto the cookie tray. They don't spread, so you don't have to leave very much space between them. However, still make sure they aren't touching, otherwise those cookies will be attached to each other. Next, you put your cookies in the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Cookies took about 10 minutes to cook. It all depends on size. My cookies were around 2 inches wide, so if your cookies are bigger or smaller than that, adjust the time so that it's more or less. Set a timer to start at about 7 minutes because each oven takes different times to cook things. Use a spatula to move the cookies from the tray to the cooling rack. This will help the cookies stop cooking and allow them to cool off faster so your dogs won't have to wait as long to try them. After they are cooled, I recommend putting the cookies that you aren't immediately giving to your dogs into a Ziploc bag and putting them in the freezer. Because they have no preservatives, they go bad quickly if you don't do this. However, if you put them into your freezer, they will last at least a month. Our cookies are now done and you can share them with your four-legged Valentines. Trust me, they'll go crazy for them. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when the next videos are uploaded. Thank you and happy early Valentine's Day!